Marcus Jackson just wanted some oat milk and a carton of eggs. It was a regular Monday, about 4:15 in the afternoon, at a Kroger off Franklin Road in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Picture this. Marcus is strolling through the store, earbuds in, noise-canceling mode on, no music, just that sweet silence. He's got his phone out, checking a short grocery list. His back's still sore from crashing on a lumpy VA hospital bed the night before. He'd only been back in the States for like 5 days after his third tour in Afghanistan. 5 days, y'all. The guy's barely had time to unpack his duffel bag. He turns into aisle 6, minding his own business, when he notices something weird. Shadows moving in from both ends of the aisle. Not shoppers cops. 6 of them. No warning, no excuse me, sir. Just one officer yelling, hands where I can see him, with his gun drawn. Marcus looks up, half confused, half thinking, is this really happening? That Marine training kicks in, though a voice in his head says, don't move fast. Stay calm, so he does. He slowly puts his phone on the shelf, raises both hands, and says, sir, I think you've got the wrong guy. Turn around, now. The cop barks. Marcus turns, and in under 10 seconds, the cuffs are on. Cold, tight, too tight. The store goes quiet. Shoppers freeze. One lady clutches her purse like it's a life raft. A teenage girl by the freezer pulls out her phone, already recording. Someone whispers, what did he do? Then a rookie cop, still panting, says it matches the description. Robbery in Smyrna last night. Marcus hears it, but it's like static in his brain. I live here, he says, staring at the cereal boxes on the shelf. I just got back from Afghanistan. Check my wallet, my military ID's in there. But nobody checks. One officer pats him down, finds the ID, glances at it, and tosses it into a plastic bag like it's junk mail. The walk out of the store feels like a mile. Marcus tries not to look at anyone, but he catches their faces, some confused, some judging, a few angry but silent. As they push his head into the police cruiser, he sees himself in the side mirror, jaw tight, eyes sharp. The exhaustion's gone. All he feels is humiliation. In the cruiser, it's quiet. One cop in the back glances at Marcus's name tag and mutters, Jackson, huh? But that's it. At the station, it's the full drill. Fingerprints, search, mugshot. His phone's still in the cart back at Kroger. His wallet's in a bag. His arms, still stiff from his last sniper mission, are now red from the cuffs. Can I call someone? He asks a sergeant behind a glass window. You'll get a call once we confirm everything, she says, not even looking up. They take him to a cell. No bench, no clock, just cinder blocks and a stale, sour smell. For the first time in years, Marcus feels completely powerless. He sits on the floor, leans back, and closes his eyes. Memories of Helmand Province flood in nights where he couldn't tell if the buzzing was a drone or a bug. Kids on rooftops who might have been signaling the enemy. 16-hour sniper nests, sweat-soaked and gritty, waiting for the shot that'd save a convoy. Out there, it was about honor, a mission. Here, just a guy alone, locked up because someone thought he looked like trouble. He doesn't sleep, not a wink. Around 3 a.m., a guard says something through the bars, but Marcus barely hears it. He's thinking about his mum, Miss Clara. She doesn't even know he's back yet. He was gonna surprise her this weekend. She always told him, stand tall, baby. Truth walks, lies run. He stood tall and still. Here he is, dot by sunrise. The bruises on Marcus's wrists are a deep purple. He stands when light cuts through the bars, knees creaking, neck stiff. The concrete floors sucked all the warmth out of him. But that's not what's making him cold. A new officer slides a paper plate through the bar's dry eggs. A slice of toast that looks like it lost a fight. No utensils. Water, Marcus asks. The guy just walks off. No clock, no phone call, no window. Just the sound of slamming doors and a cough from another cell down the hall. Sometime later, maybe mid-morning, maybe earlier, they call him out. The same cop who ignored his ID is there, voice flat, almost bored. Let's go, Jackson. Marcus follows, still cuffed, to a small interview room. 2 chairs, a table bolted to the floor, a blinking red camera in the corner. An older detective walks in, salt and pepper stubble, looks like he's seen it all. He sits, flips open a folder, and gives Marcus a long look. You a Marine? I am, Marcus says, still active, just finished my 3rd tour. The detective nods. Where Helmond Kamptwaya. Before that, Sangin and Kajaki. That's real, the man mutters. You got miles on you. He slides a grainy photo across the tabular suspect mid-stride outside a liquor store. Hoodie, dark jeans, facial hair. That's supposed to be me? Marcus asks. Dead serious. I don't think so, the detective says. But the officer who cuffed you thought you were close enough to hold. I told them who I was. Showed ID. Yeah, that's in the report. Silence. Then, I've put in a recommendation to release you. It'll take a few hours, but you'll be out by this afternoon. Marcus stares. That's it. The detective shifts, uncomfortable. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. Wrong place, wrong time. I read your file. You saved lives out there, medals, recommendations, even a letter from a commandant. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't take those phones down from yesterday. Marcus says. The detective sighs. You're right, it doesn't. Back in the cell, Marcus stands, refusing to sit. Sitting feels like giving in. A young officer passes by, slows, looks at him like he knows him, then keeps walking. By now, someone's got to know what's up, right? A few hours later, a sergeant shows up with a clipboard. You're being released. No charges. Clean file. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Why was I even booked? No arrest on record, she says. Just a detainment. She hands him a plastic bag with his wallet, a receipt for his belt, his watch, and a slip saying his phone's still at the store. Someone gonna apologize? He asks. She doesn't answer. He walks out in a torn t-shirt, hands sore, the air too sharp, too bright. A kid, early 20s, is waiting outside, holding Marcus's phone. You dropped this, the kid says, nervous. I saw the video online. Figured they wouldn't let you keep it. I waited here a while. Thought you might need it. Marcus takes it. No case. No scratches. Thanks. What's your name? Jaden, the kid says, trying not to fidget. My cousin served, too. Marcus nods. That nod means something. He heads to the sidewalk, each step heavy, not from pain but because the ground doesn't feel like his anymore. But outside, things are already moving. By the time Marcus gets to his apartment, the video's at 50,000 views. It was shot by a teenager named Kayla Thompson, who was grabbing frozen pizza when the cops swarmed in. She didn't know Marcus, but something felt off, so she hit record and posted it to TikTok with a caption. This man was arrested at Kroger for matching a description after showing his military ID. What are we doing? The comments explode. He was so calm, they didn't even check his ID. That's a Marine. What the hell? Somebody fix this. It's not just outrage, it's recognition. People have seen this story too many times, but this time, it's different. Marcus isn't yelling or running. He's steady, tired, carrying a weight you can feel through the screen. That hits harder. One guy who sees the video is Staff Sergeant Caleb Reed, stationed at Camp Pendleton. He's scrolling during lunch when he freezes. That's Staff Sergeant Jackson. He tells his bunkmate, he trained me, saved us in Helmand, took a bullet and still finished the op. Caleb doesn't just share the video, he writes a post about Marcus's service, his mentorship, how he led by example. He tags Marines, veterans groups, even a few journalists he follows. I don't know what you all call this, he writes, but I call it a disgrace. That post spreads like wildfire. It reaches Colonel Laura Mitchell at Quantico. She knows Marcus personally. He trained under her for advanced marksmanship. She remembers how he stayed late to help other snipers, never losing his cool, even in brutal conditions. She forwards the video and Caleb's post to General Nathan Carter, head of operations for Eastern Command now. General Carter's not the type to mess with local arrests. He's busy running logistics, approving deployments, reviewing security, but he knows Marcus from way back, from a base in Ramadi, when Marcus was just a lance corporal volunteering for every night shift. Carter approved his Silver Star, back when recognition for black servicemen was still a fight. He watches the video 3 times, then tells his assistant, get me the judge's name, find out where he's being held, and clear my Friday. Back in Murfreesboro, Marcus has no clue this is happening. He's sitting on the edge of his bathtub, staring at the bruises on his wrists. They look like tattoos, almost permanent. He presses one, winces. His phone buzzes another link to the video. He hasn't watched it yet. A voicemail pops up from his mum. Boy, what happened? I saw your face on that TikTok mess. You better call me, or I'm flying out there, and I'll embarrass everybody. He almost laughs. Instead, He sits in silence, finally pressing play. It's weird watching himself get dragged out of Kroger, hearing how calm his voice sounds. He didn't feel calm, he was furious. But it doesn't show. He scrolls the comments. One stops him. My brother served with him in 2017. This man doesn't deserve this. Fix it. He puts the phone down. Things are moving. He can feel it. Friday morning rolls in with a thin fog over the Rutherford County Courthouse parking lot. It's the kind that burns off by 9 a.m., but leaves everything feeling heavy, like the air's holding its breath. Marcus steps out of a county van, wearing khaki slacks, a navy blue shirt, and slip-on shoes they gave him. He didn't ask for the clothes, they just showed up at his door yesterday, with a note from a local veterans group. You're not alone, we're watching. See you Friday. The courtroom's not packed, but it's not empty either. A few retirees, with legal pads, sit in the back, scribbling like they're auditing the place. A couple of college kids are there, probably for a class project. Two guys in plain clothes, clearly military, sit stone-faced, staring down anyone who whispers too loud. A woman in a brown pantsuit leans against the back wall, typing furiously on her phone, maybe a reporter, maybe not. Marcus walks in, escorted but no cuffs this time. Still, he feels chained. At the defendant's table, he meets his public defender, Sarah Torres, who whispers, "I'm Sarah. Got assigned late. Sorry for the rush. This case is weird." She spreads out some papers, leans closer. "I've seen dumb arrests, but yours." The file's thin, just a blurry photo and an officer who's already been reassigned. "I'm not letting this slide." Marcus nods, eyes on the judge's bench. "Appreciate it." The courtroom doors creak, and Miss Clara Jackson steps in, Marcus's mom. She's straight-backed, fierce, wearing her grey coat and the Sunday hat Marcus hasn't seen since his sniper school graduation. Her eyes lock on him, and she gives a quick nod, like, "I see you, baby, you good." Marcus looks away for a second, throat tight. Judge Henry Walsh enters, 63, white-haired, known for plowing through cases and roasting lawyers who waste his time. He sits, adjusts his glasses, scans the file, and sighs. "State of Tennessee versus Marcus Jackson," he says, voice flat. "Mr. Jackson, I'm reading you were detained without a warrant based on a description that's since been proven inaccurate. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir," Marcus replies. "And the ID you presented matched your identity and military status." "Yes, sir." The judge rubs his temples. "Then why are we here?" Torres stands. "Your Honor, we're filing a motion to dismiss all charges." "There are no charges." Walsh cuts in. "Just a mess." Murmurs ripple through the room. Someone in the back mutters, "Good." Another says, "Damn right." Walsh raises his gavel to shut it down, but the courtroom door swings open, and everything stops. A tall black man in full dress uniform walks in, 4 stars on his shoulders, ribbons stacked across his chest. It's General Nathan Carter. The room feels smaller just with him in it. He doesn't glance around, just strides forward, steps, deliberate, permission to address the court. "Your Honor," he says, voice deep, steady. Walsh blinks. "You may." Carter turns to Marcus. "Staff Sergeant Jackson, I've followed your record since 2013. You're a marksman, a leader, a survivor, a Marine who represents the best of this country's military." Marcus stays still. Miss Clara in the back lets out a soft Carter faces the judge. "Let me be clear. What happened to this Marine wasn't a procedural error. It was a failure. A failure to respect those who risked their lives for strangers. A failure to separate suspicion from service. A failure that embarrassed not just this court, but my entire command." The judge looks stunned. Even the bailiff leans forward. Carter takes a breath, steps closer to Marcus. "On behalf of every officer who's ever given you an order, I apologize. You didn't deserve this, and I'll personally ensure your name is cleared at every level." Marcus's shoulders loosen, just a fraction. The door at the back creaks again, so quiet most don't notice, but Marcus does. A young woman with tight braids and a press badge steps in, holding a real camera, not a phone, a legit one. Behind her, a guy with a boom mic slings it over his shoulder. Walsh sighs. "Who let in media?" "They're cleared, Your Honor." The bailiff says, "Regional public access, doing a veterans' rights segment." Walsh looks like he wants to argue, but the camera's already rolling. Carter doesn't flinch. He turns to the gallery, speaking to everyone now, not just the judge. "I've served 38 years. I've seen men like Staff Sergeant Jackson run through gunfire to save others. I've signed death notices, stood at funerals. What I haven't done enough is call out what happens when those men come home and get treated like they're disposable. He looks at the camera. If this can happen to him, it can happen to any of us. And if you think a uniform protects you back on American soil, you haven't been paying attention. The room's so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Marty's jaw tightens, but something shifts inside him. Not pride, but validation. Carter turns to the judge one last time. I'm requesting a formal review of the department's handling of this case. The military's filing a complaint, paperwork's already on the way. That's all I came to say. He gives Marcus a final look, steps back. Walsh exhales. Well, Staff Sergeant Jackson, your name's not only cleared, but defended from the highest level. He taps his gavel. This hearing's concluded. Mr. Jackson, you're free to go. He pauses, glances at the press, then adds, on behalf of this court, I apologize. The room stays still for a beat. Then chairs creak, whispers start. Miss Clara grips her coat tighter, but doesn't speak as Marcus stands and turns toward her. The two military guys in the back nod at him as he passes. Outside, reporters are waiting. The woman with the braids calls out, Mr. Jackson, can you speak to what this means for veterans? Not right now, Marcus says, calm but firm. Miss Clara joins him on the courthouse steps, standing close. You okay? She asks quietly. No, he says, eyes forward, but I'm here. Down the street, a black SUV with tinted windows is parked by a hydrant. The door opens, and General Carter steps out. No hat this time. Mind if I walk with you? He asks. Marcus shrugs. They start down Maple Street, the courthouse noise fading. Carter speaks first. You handled yourself with more restraint than I could have. Didn't feel like I had a choice, Marcus says. Still, it mattered. People saw. People heard. Marcus stops. I haven't said anything yet. Carter raises an eyebrow. You plan to? Marcus looks at a streetlight. I might. 3 days pass before Marcus speaks publicly. He ignores every interview request, leaves messages unread. His phone's a war zone. Instagram tags, email pings, voicemails from some NBC guy who sounds way too excited. But then an email lands from a school counselor, Jamal Carter, at Hillsborough High, 20 minutes away. Subject, we need you to talk to them. It reads, Staff Sergeant Jackson, our JROTC group saw the video. Some are questioning if military service is worth it. One kid said, why wear a uniform if they'll still treat you like a suspect? Can you speak to them? Nothing formal, just 20 minutes of truth. Marcus reads it 3 times. That line, 20 minutes of truth, sticks. He doesn't reply right away, but shows up that Friday, wearing his uniform, creases sharp, boots polished to a mirror shine. Miss Clara sees him before he leaves. You sure about this? No, he says, but it feels right. The Hillsborough Auditorium's nothing. Fancy plastic chairs, dusty curtains, flags lined up in the back. The kids are scattered, some with arms crossed, others on their phones. When Marcus steps to the mic, it takes a second for them to quiet down. I'm not here to convince you of anything, he starts. Not here to defend this country or explain the last 2 weeks. I just want to tell you what I've seen, what I've learned. He talks about Hellman's Mountains, sandstorms, holding pressure on a friend's wound during a medevac. He describes nights lit only by muzzle flashes, days where laughter kept you sane. Then he shifts. Let me tell you about Murfreesboro, he says. How fast it happened. How my service didn't matter in that moment. How people watched and said nothing. The cuffs weren't the worst part. The silence was. But, even after all that, I still believe in standing for something. A boy in a green ROTC jacket raises his hand. What stopped you from snapping? Like going off. Marcus lets it hang. Thought about it, he says. But I wasn't just wearing my name that day. I was wearing yours. To every young brother who wants to be seen, every sister overlooked in a boardroom, every vet who came back feeling invisible. A girl with her hair tied back asks, would you still serve? Knowing what happened, he takes a beat. Yes, but I'd serve differently. I wouldn't stay quiet about what's wrong. I wouldn't swallow every insult to seem tough. I'd speak up, like now. The room's quiet, then applause starts slow, real. Afterward, kids come up to shake his hand. One hugs him. Another slips him a note. Thank you for saying what my dad never could. Outside, Jamal Carter's waiting. "I don't know what you did in there," he says, "but that room felt different when you finished. They just needed someone to be honest," Marcus says, glancing back at the building. By Monday morning, Marcus's story is everywhere. Not in a loud, tabloid way, but in a quiet, real way. PBS runs a 3-minute clip on a veteran-focused show, showing General Carter's courtroom speech and Marcus standing tall, eyes steady. Then it cuts to his talk at Hillsborough High. That clip, it goes viral. People don't just watch it, they share it, repost it, argue about it, splice it into montages. Veterans of all backgrounds chime in. One comment reads, "He's so calm, and that's scarier than yelling." Another says, "God help us if we need men like this and treat them like trash." The Murfreesboro Police Department can't ignore it anymore. They drop a statement, but it's weak, full of buzzwords like "we regret the incident" and "under internal review." Nobody's buying it. Within days, the arresting officer, Officer Kyle Ramsey, is outed. He's been with the department less than 2 years, and his file now public shows prior complaints, including one that got swept under the rug. Ramsey's on paid leave, pending investigation. Marcus doesn't say a word about it. He doesn't need 2 others do it for him. Staff Sergeant Caleb Reed, the guy who recognized Marcus in the video, writes a column for Task and Purpose. It starts, "If you trained under Marcus Jackson, you knew 3 things. He shot straighter, cared deeper, and expected more from you than anyone else." That piece blows up, too. The Murfreesboro City Council calls a special session. Local activists start gathering outside the precinct, not protesting, but holding a vigil. No signs, just candles and photos of soldiers, many who never got a proper welcome home. Remember Jaden, the kid who returned Marcus's phone? He gets pulled onto a podcast and tells the story of waiting outside the station. His voice cracks when he says, "It was the least I could do. He looked like my cousin." Even Kayla Thompson, the teen who filmed the video, ends up on a Zoom panel with youth leaders talking about digital witnessing. Her TikToks had 2 million views and climbing. Meanwhile, Marcus stays low-key. He's back to visiting Miss Clara on weekends, fixing her kitchen's cracked tile, walking her to church like he did pre-deployment. Some folks in town stare. A few ask for selfies. One lady leaves a pie on his doorstep with a note, "Semper Fi." Marcus doesn't let the attention get to him. "I didn't do anything heroic," he tells Clara one afternoon while folding laundry. "You stood still when the storm hit," she says. "That's harder than most folks know." He doesn't argue, but it's not the media or the pie that gets to him, it's the letters. Real, handwritten letters. From veterans, kids, parents. A woman in Oregon writes about her dad, arrested the same way in '86. A boy in Arkansas says he wants to join the Marines, because if people like you serve, maybe I should too. Marcus reads every one, sitting at his kitchen table, surrounded by envelopes and coffee stains. One night, he picks up his phone, opens the camera, and records a video. "People keep asking what I want," he says. "Truth is, I didn't ask for any of this. But now that it's here, I hope we don't waste it. I hope next time someone's accused, we slow down before we judge. I hope the uniform starts to mean something again, not just in theory, but in how we treat people." He pauses, and if you're wondering what to do next, maybe start by looking at the person next to you. Make sure they're seen. He posts it. In 48 hours, it's at 3 million views. But Marcus isn't done. That JROTC kid in the green jacket, the one who asked why he didn't snap, his face, his voice there stuck in Marcus's head. So, when a mutual contact connects him with Mrs. Lena Harper from the Rutherford County Juvenile Center, asking if he'll visit, he doesn't hesitate. "Don't need a camera," he tells her. "Wasn't planning on bringing one." She replies. It's a Wednesday when Marcus shows up. No uniform, just jeans, boots, and a charcoal hoodie. Mrs. Harper meets him at the security desk, clipboard tucked under her arm, keycard swinging. "They're not all bad kids," she says as they walk down the hall. "Most just never had anyone who really saw them." Marcus gets it, more than he can say. The room's off-white, lined with plastic chairs and a handful of teens slouched. Against the walls, they don't stand. A few size him up, waiting for a lecture. One kid's got his arms crossed so tight he looks like he's holding himself together. Marcus stands in front. No mic, no podium. "I'm not here to tell you how to live," he starts. "I'm not your dad, not your pastor. I've done things I don't expect you to understand, but I know what it's like to be written off, to have people see a threat before they see a person. A few heads lift. I got arrested in a grocery store. He goes on. Didn't run, didn't yell, still ended up in cuffs. I'd been shot at in 3 countries, lost friends, saved some. Didn't stop me from being treated like a suspect in my own town. The kid with the crossed arms speaks up, voice low but sharp. So what? You just forgive it? No, Marcus says, flat out, but I don't drag it like a chain. I carry it like a warning. That gets a couple smirks, a raised brow. He steps closer. You ever do something you can't explain? Not 'cause you're evil, but 'cause you didn't know better, or nobody taught you, or you just didn't care that day. A few nod. I've been that, he says. But here's what nobody tells you. Guilt can eat you. Regret can trap you worse than these walls. Accountability, that's where freedom starts. He pauses. What would you do different if you knew someone was watching? Not a judge, not a camera, but your little brother, your niece, someone you haven't met yet who might walk your path. No one answers, but they're locked in. Mrs. Harper looks stunned. She's not used to this kind of quiet. After the talk, one boy approaches as the others file out. His sneakers are too big, laces loose. You really shot somebody? He asks, eyes challenging. I did, Marcus says, steady, because they were about to kill a family. I didn't want to, but I had to. The boy holds that, then nods, like he's processing. I want to be better, just don't know where to start. Marcus hands him a folded paper, list of recruiters who won't talk down to you. Not saying sign up, just giving you options. The boy takes it, says nothing, and walks off. Mrs. Harper stands by Marcus as he grabs his stuff. You shook something loose today, she says. I didn't shake anything, he replies. They were already moving. I just showed up. The cameras and reporters eventually fade, chasing news stories, louder dramas. Marcus doesn't care. He didn't do this for headlines. A few weeks later, he's at Stonebridge Park in Murfreesboro, sitting on a bench, watching traffic roll by. It's almost noon. Light breeze, joggers, and kids on bikes. Normal, but rare for him now. He's in an old hoodie, faded ball cap, no military gear. Miss Clara packed him a sandwich. Like always, a middle-aged man walks by with a kid, maybe 10, trailing behind. The boy's got a camo backpack, dragging it through the dirt. He looks at Marcus, then looks again. The dad gives a polite nod. The kid stops. Hey, he says. Were you the guy in that phone video? Marcus pauses, then smiles a little. Yeah, that was me. The kid's face lights up. My teacher showed us. You were real calm. I liked that. Appreciate it, Marcus says, nodding. The boy keeps walking, glancing back every few steps. The dad doesn't say much, but his look says it all. Respect. Maybe a hint of shame, but real. When they're gone, Marcus pulls out a small notebook, one he's carried since his second tour. He flips to a page and writes, "It's not about what happens to you, it's what you do with it after." A few weeks after Marcus's visit to the juvenile center, things start to settle, but not really. The news cycle's moved on to flashier stories, but Marcus's impact is still rippling. That notebook he wrote in at the park, it's filling up, not with grand speeches, but small truths, like reminders to himself. Stay steady, speak when it matters, see people. He's not chasing fame, but people keep finding him one day. He's at the old community center in Murfreesboro, the one where he used to run youth drills before his last deployment. It's quieter now, paint peeling, hoops rusty. The director, Ms. Evelyn Porter, catches him looking around. Been trying to get more folks involved, she says. Kids need someone they'll actually listen to, someone who gets it. Marcus doesn't hesitate. I'll volunteer. No pay, just time. Evelyn's eyes widen. You sure got a few hours a week, he says. Might as well use M for something real. He starts small, 2 boys, then 4, then a dozen. He doesn't talk much about war. Instead, it's about discipline, reading a room, breathing through pressure, stuff you don't learn in school. He shows them how to stand tall without puffing out their chest, how to listen before reacting. The room fills week by week. Kids who used to skip now show up early. One boy, maybe 14, tells him, "You make it make sense, you know, like I don't gotta be loud to be somebody." In town, people still whisper when Marcus walks into stores. Some point, but it's different now, not scandal, but respect. It makes him uneasy, but he gets why it matters. They're not just seeing him, they're seeing what he stood for. One evening, a cashier at a gas station, an older guy with a Vietnam vet cap, slides Marcus's change back and says, "Heard what you did. Makes me feel like we ain't all forgotten." Marcus just nods, but it sticks with him. Back at home, Miss Clara's got a new addition to the fridge, a printed photo from the courtroom, General Carter standing beside Marcus. She doesn't show it off, it's just there, like a quiet anchor. One night, as they're clearing the dinner table, she looks at him and asks, "You feel like yourself again?" Marcus thinks for a second, then shakes his head. "No," he says, "I feel better." She smiles, just a little, and keeps stacking plates. The letters keep coming, though, piles of them. A vet from Texas writes about being profiled in the 90s, says Marcus's story gave him words for what he couldn't say. A teacher in Ohio sends a packet of notes from her 5th graders, one saying, "I want to be brave like you." A college student in Georgia writes, "I'm studying law because of what happened to you. We need to fix this." Marcus reads them late at night, coffee gone cold, and each one feels like a brick in a foundation he didn't plan to build. Then comes an invite that stops him cold. It's from a local NAACP chapter, asking him to speak at their annual veterans banquet, not as a guest, but as the keynote. The letter's polite, but direct. "Your story has moved people beyond Murphy's. We'd be honored to hear from you, not just about what happened, but what you're doing now." It's signed by Dr. Anita Wells, the chapter president. Marcus sits on it for 2 days. Public speaking's one thing with kids, but a banquet, that's suits, microphones, people expecting wisdom. He shows the letter to Miss Clara. "They want a speech," he says. "Don't know if I got that in me." "You've been speaking this whole time," she says, folding a towel. "Just didn't call it that." He agrees to do it. The banquet's at a community college auditorium. Nothing fancy, but it's packed. Veterans, families, activists, a few city council members trying to look supportive. Marcus wears a simple suit, no tie, his dog tags tucked under his shirt. When Dr. Wells introduces him, the room stands, clapping for what feels like forever. Marcus looks out, sees Miss Clara in the front row, her Sunday hat back on, and takes a breath. "I'm not a speaker," he starts, voice steady but real. "I'm just a guy who went to get groceries and ended up here. I've been shot at, pinned down, lost people I loved, thought I knew what hard was. But standing in that store, cuffed for nothing, with people watching like I was a show that was harder. Not because of the cuffs, but because it felt like everything I did overseas didn't matter." The room's quiet, leaning in. "I could have stayed angry," he goes on, "could have let it eat me. But I saw those kids at Hillsborough, at the juvenile center, and I realized they're watching. Not just me, but all of us. They're asking, what do I do when the world doesn't see me? And we gotta have an answer." He pauses, looks at the vets in the crowd. "Service doesn't end when you take off the uniform. It's in how you show up after. I'm not saying forgive what happened, I'm saying use it. Build something. Talk to someone who's been where you are. Tell your story, even if it's just to one person. That's how we change this." When he finishes, the room's on its feet again. A vet in the back, grey beard and a cane, shouts, "That's my Marine." Miss Clara doesn't clap, she just nods, like she knew he had it in him. After, people line up to shake his hand. A young woman, maybe a law student, says, "You made me want to do more than post about it." Marcus tells her, "Then do it." The speech gets recorded, of course. Someone posts it online, and it spreads, not viral like the Kroger video, but steady, shared in group chats, emailed to co-workers. A veterans organization in DC reaches out, asking Marcus to join a panel on re-entry challenges. He's not sure, but he doesn't say no. Back at the community center, the group's growing. Marcus is there, twice a week now, running drills, but also just talking. One kid, Devin, who started coming a month ago, opens up about his older brother. Locked up for a bad choice. "He's not a bad guy," Devin says. "Just messed up." Marcus listens, then says, "Write him. Tell him you see him." Sometimes that's enough to start. Devin nods, and the next week, he shows Marcus a letter he wrote. It's messy, full of crossouts but real. Marcus doesn't read it, just hands it back and says, "Good, send it." The center's director, Evelyn, pulls Marcus aside one day. "You're doing something here," she says. "Kids are signing up for after-school stuff now, not just yours. Parents are asking who you are." I'm just here, Marcus says, shrugging. But he knows it's more than that. One afternoon he's walking through the Kroger again, same one. He hasn't been back much, but he needed coffee. The cashier, a new guy, doesn't recognize him, but an older woman in line does. She touches his arm lightly. I saw you speak, she says. My son's a vet, he's struggling. Can I give him your number? Marcus hesitates, then writes down his email instead. Tell him to reach out, I'll answer. She smiles, eyes wet, thank you. That night, he gets an email from the son, a former army medic named Trey. It's short, heard you get it. I'm not okay, but I want to be. Marcus writes back, you don't gotta be okay yet, just keep showing up. Let's talk. They meet for coffee a week later, and Trey's not the only one. Others start reaching out, to vets, mostly, but also a few kids from the center, even a cop who says he's rethinking how he does his job. Marcus doesn't call it a movement, he doesn't call it anything, but it's happening. Months have passed since the courtroom, the viral video, the speeches. Marcus Jackson's name still pops up online, but he's not chasing the spotlight. He's back in Murfreesboro, living quietly, but not silently. The community center's his second home now. What started as a few kids in a dusty gym has grown into a program still small, still scrappy, but real. Teens show up for Marcus's sessions on discipline, awareness, and owning your choices. Some call him coach, though he laughs it off. I'm just Marcus, he says. He's added a new piece to the program, storytelling. Not war stories, but real ones, mistakes, wins, moments that shaped them. One girl, Amaya, shares how she stopped a fight at school by talking instead of swinging. A boy, Carlos, admits he shoplifted once, got caught, and now wants to earn back his mom's trust. Marcus listens, nods, and says, that's your start. Keep going. The kids don't just talk, they listen to each other, and that's the magic. Evelyn, the center's director, tells him, you're building a community, whether you admit it or not. Outside the center, Marcus keeps connecting. Trey, the army medic he met for coffee, is doing better, going to therapy, even mentoring a younger vet. They still grab coffee sometimes, swapping stories about re-entry, the stuff nobody warns you about. Other vets reach out to, through email or word of mouth. Marcus doesn't have all the answers, but he's there listening, pointing them to resources, or just sitting in the silence when that's what they need. The letters haven't stopped. His kitchen table's a mess of envelopes, some with drawings, from kids, others with pages-long stories, from vets who feel seen for the first time. One letter, from a retired colonel in Virginia, reads, you reminded me why I served not for medals, but for people. Keep doing what you're doing. Marcus pins it to his fridge, next to Miss Clara's courtroom photo. Speaking of Miss Clara, she's still his rock. They're back to their Sunday routine, church, then lunch at her place, where she grills him about eating enough. One day, she hands him a flyer for a regional veterans conference in Nashville. They want you to speak, she says. I told Em you'd think about it. Marcus sighs. You signing me up for things now? Somebody's gotta, she says, smirking. He goes. The conference is bigger than he expected. Hundreds of vets, advocates, even some policymakers. Marcus's panel is about veteran re-entry, but when he takes the mic, he doesn't stick to the script. We talk about jobs and healthcare, he says, but we don't talk enough about respect. Not the kind you salute, but the kind that sees you as a person, not a threat or a stereotype. I learned that in a grocery store, and I'm still learning it now. He tells the crowd about the kids at the center, about Trey, about the letters. Change doesn't start with a big speech or a viral video, he says. It starts with seeing the person in front of you really, seeing them and acting like it. The room's quiet, then erupts in applause. A few vets come up after, eyes wet, saying they're starting programs in their own towns because of him. Back in Murfreesboro, the city's changed too. The police department's under new scrutiny, training reforms, community forums, even a public apology from the chief. Though it feels late, Officer Kyle Ramsey, the one who cuffed Marcus, is off the force, quietly let go after the investigation. Marcus doesn't celebrate it, doesn't fix the past. He tells a friend, just means we gotta do better going forward. One spring afternoon, Marcus is at the community center, setting up for a session, when Jaden, the kid who returned his phone, shows up. He's taller now, a little more confident. I'm enlisting, Jaden says. Marines, got my recruiter and everything. Marcus pauses, looks at him. Why? Jaden shrugs, then grins. Saw what you did. Figured if you can keep going after all that, I can try to. Marcus nods, pride flickering in his chest. Stay sharp out there, he says, and call me if you need me. That night, Marcus sits on his porch, notebook in hand. He writes, it's not about fixing everything, it's about showing up, even when it's hard. He thinks about Jaden, Amaya, Trey, the kids at the center, the vets at the conference. He thinks about Miss Clara's nod in the courtroom, General Carter's apology, Kayla's video that started it all. It's not one moment, it's all of them, woven together. The next day he's back at the Kroger. He doesn't avoid it anymore. As he grabs his oat milk, a teenage cashier recognizes him. You're that guy, right? She says. The one who spoke up. Yeah, Marcus says, smiling a little. That's me. She rings him up, then leans in. My brother's in JROTC. He saw you at Hillsborough. Wants to be like you. Marcus pauses, bag in hand. Tell him to be better than me, he says, and to keep his eyes open. She nods, and he walks out, the sun warm on his face. The ground feels like his again. That's the end of Marcus Jackson's story. Y'all, or at least this chapter. From a grocery store to a courtroom to a community, he showed us what it means to stand tall, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. This isn't just about war or cuffs, it's about what we do when the world tries to define us. Marcus didn't let it. He built something instead. What hit you hardest about this story? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories like this. We don't all wear uniforms, but we all serve. Someone, a neighbor, a friend, the person in line behind you. Let's make sure they're seen.